Andriy Parubiy, The Life and Death of a Revolutionary Leader. On August 30th, 2025, Ukraine was shaken to its core when Andriy Parubiy, one of its most prominent political figures, was gunned down in broad daylight in his home city of Lviv. The brazen assassination of the 54-year-old former parliamentary speaker was not only a violent crime, but also a symbolic blow to a nation still fighting for its sovereignty and identity in the shadow of war with Russia. The final moments. Shortly after noon, Parubiy left his residence in the Sikiv-Frankivsky district of Lviv. A man dressed as a food delivery driver approached, carrying a box that appeared to contain an order. In an instant, the disguise fell away as the assailant drew a firearm and unleashed a hail of bullets. Witnesses reported between 5 and 8 shots. The politician collapsed on the pavement as the attacker mounted an electric bicycle and sped away through the city streets. Police arriving at the scene recovered 7 shell casings, evidence of the precision and premeditation behind the killing. Within hours, Ukraine's Interior Ministry launched Operation Siren, a massive manhunt across Lviv and surrounding regions. President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation, calling the murder a shot to the heart of Ukraine and vowing to bring the killer to justice. We will use all our forces and means to find who did this and those who sent him. Who was Andriy Parubiy? For Ukrainians, Parubiy was more than a politician. He was a symbol of resistance and the struggle for independence. Born on January 31st, 1971, in Lviv, he grew up during the final years of the Soviet Union. As a young man, he threw himself into politics and activism, advocating for a free and democratic Ukraine. In the 1990s, when the country was still finding its footing after independence, Parubiy emerged as a rising figure in nationalist movements. He first gained international recognition in 2004 during the Orange Revolution, where he was one of the protest leaders demanding clean elections and an end to authoritarian practices. Nearly a decade later, in 2013-14, Parubiy became one of the most visible leaders of the Euromaidan protests, which toppled the pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych. During the height of those protests, Parubiy organized self-defense units that protected demonstrators from riot police, earning him the nickname Commandant of Maidan. Following the revolution, Parubiy entered government at the highest levels. In 2014, he briefly served as Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, at a time when Russia annexed Crimea and war erupted in Donbass. From 2016 to 2019, he served as Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, Ukraine's parliament, where he pushed for closer ties with the European Union and NATO. Though sometimes controversial for his hardline positions, he remained a steadfast advocate for Ukrainian sovereignty. Until his death, he continued to serve as a member of parliament, shaping national security and defense policy. A nation in mourning. News of Parubiy's death spread rapidly. Shock and grief poured in from across the political spectrum. Zelensky condemned the murder as terrorism against Ukraine itself. Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko called it a profound loss and urged investigators to act with urgency. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha hailed him as a patriot and statesman who gave his life to Ukraine's independence. Former President Petro Poroshenko wrote, "He was a great man, a true friend, and a warrior for Ukraine's freedom. That is why they feared him. That is why they took revenge." Across Lviv, mourners gathered at spontaneous vigils, laying flowers and lighting candles in memory of the slain leader. Many remembered him as a man who had stood with ordinary Ukrainians in freezing winter squares when the fate of the nation hung in the balance. The bigger picture. Parubiy's assassination is not an isolated incident. Over the past few years, several figures from the Maidan era have died in suspicious circumstances. Ukrainian intelligence has repeatedly warned of Russian attempts to destabilize the country through targeted killings of influential figures. While investigators have not yet named a suspect, the method, a disguise, rapid execution, and clean escape, suggests the work of professionals rather than a random act. For many in Kiev, the question is not just who pulled the trigger, but who ordered the killing. The murder is already being compared to political assassinations in Europe during the Cold War, when enemies of Moscow often met sudden, violent ends. Legacy of a fighter. Whether admired or criticized, few deny that Andriy Parubiy left an indelible mark on Ukraine. For decades, he stood at the heart of the country's most defining struggles: the fight for democracy, the battle against Russian domination, and the dream of a free European future. His death closes a chapter in Ukraine's modern history, but it also raises new questions about the dangers facing those who stand on the front lines of that struggle. As Ukraine mourns, the words of a mourner in Lviv captured the mood. He survived the bullets of Maidan. He survived the battles of 2014. But in the end, they found him here, in his own city. It is not only Andriy Parubiy who died today. A piece of Ukraine's soul has died with him. Would you like me to make this even longer? Like a full documentary-style script story, 30-plus minutes of narration, with chapter divisions, e.g., his early life, his role in Maidan, his time as speaker, the assassination, the aftermath?